G'day, I'm Todd from Toxic Garage Customs and thanks for joining me. Today I've got a video on reconstructing, restoring and putting into epoxy primer, at least on part of it, the grille off the 1952 L110 International truck. So please follow on and you'll see that process from start to almost finished. Thanks. Well, back onto the International. Just got the front grille section here, radiator support grille section. Out of the whole vehicle, again that's it, out of the whole vehicle, I think this is probably the roughest panel on the whole thing. I did think to change it. I'm still not convinced that I'm going to leave it standard. I may do something like a tube grille, stainless steel tube grille or something, just to, I don't know, liven the front up a bit. And also it's a pretty boring front, quite frankly, and it's not in the best condition. So maybe if I cut the middle of it out and cut the middle of it out and put a tube grille through here or something, I think it could look cool. Just to look at the front of the actual truck. Just to look at the front of the truck. It's got this low, wide sort of look. I think they could really be emphasised by putting in a stainless steel tube grille rather than having the vertical bars, having horizontal bars. But what I'm going to do at the moment, I think whatever I do, it'll be based around this front, whether I cut it up and so on. But it's all sort of knocked around. It's rusty. So I think it's been sandblasted and then left out in the weather. It's all bent and twisted and mucked up, smashed around down the bottom here. It's just generally not in very good condition. So anything I do to it, I think I'll have to make it better. So it's all sort of buckled through this area. It's a bit wavy. So I'm just going to go through and straighten it up as much as I can, and we'll see what happens. So this is the International grille. Last time you saw it, I had been panel beating on it for quite a while. It was pretty knocked around previously. It's still not beautiful, but it's a lot better. And then I treated it with phosphoric acid just to neutralise the rust as much as I could in just for a little while. And then today I decided I'd wire brush it. So put a wire wheel on an angle grinder, pretty aggressive one. Wore really good PPE, gloves, full face mask with, full face mask. Bits of wire come flying out of those things. Usually end up with it sticking out of my shirt, my arms and so on. So that's it as it is. I haven't quite finished it. It's sort of a bit late to keep going. It's night time out there. So I've still got some last few bits at the back here to do and so on. This was a piece of the grille that was pretty hammered. I think where a crank handle goes through for winding it up. I tried to fix it and straighten it out, but decided that it was just easier to cut it out, and if I decide I want to replace it, then I'll make up a piece that goes in there. I'm probably going to customise this grille a bit, just to pretty it up a bit. You can see there's all points through here where it's had a punch in the nose, and it's had a few I think, and it's had some busted eyebrows, a couple of busted lips. It's been through the wars, so I'll weld up any of these sort of spots. I'll hammer and dolly it out a little bit more. It was very twisted, bent, just sort of here, there and everywhere. As I said, it's a lot better than it was. Still not perfect, but I'm going to customise it a bit. I've got all these old stainless steel strips off a Zephyr, Ford Zephyr Mark II that I had taken the strips off. And I'm thinking that I might use some of the stainless on these vertical bars, or I might put them across where the original stainless strips go on these. I think there's 2 or 3 normally go across on them. I have got some, they're pretty knocked around. I need to actually have a look, see where they go from some pictures. I don't particularly want to keep it standard. It's not the way I do things. I don't like to completely destroy things, but I really don't like leaving things the way they are, the way normal. It's funny, I look at these headlights with the indicators, and it almost reminds me of the Phantom or something like that, or a skull. I'm not really a skull kind of person, but it'd be novel to make something there. Anyway, I haven't done the back of it yet. Haven't done anything to the back of it other than when I was panel beating it, so you can see all the surface rust on it. As I've said previously, this thing had been sandblasted by someone and then left raw, so wiring it up was good. There's still little bits of paint on it here and there that I'll need to bring off, but wire wheeling it has brought it up pretty well. So yeah, lots of panel beating on the back has been done. Not really all that noticeable, but it's a lot straighter than it was, and I'll continue to work on it a bit more. But what I'm about to do now, because it's going to be a little while before I can get back to it, I'm going to give it a coat, and I'm going to wipe it over with wax and grease remover. I've just been cleaning it with glass cleaner a couple of minutes ago. I'll give it a clean over with some wax and grease remover. Then I'm just going to put some more phosphoric acid on it just to edge it up, just so it doesn't surface rust again. And then when I do something more to it, then if I need to remove that, I will. I can just brush it off. But eventually I'll put some epoxy primer over it. I'll body fill it. There'll probably be a reasonable coat of body filler on it, to be honest. And then I'll give it a coat of paint. Kind of thinking that, I don't know, something like a gunmetal grey, even a hammer tone type paint, epoxy paint might look good on it, just to give it that sort of robust industrial look, and I guess hide some of the blemishes that are probably always going to be there, to be honest. Anyway, quick update. So I painted phosphoric acid on this for about 10 minutes. The idea is to put it on and not allow it to dry. I watered that down, 1 part phosphoric acid, 10 parts of water. And yeah, just applied it with a brush. Just did on the bench here, just kept it wet. If I looked like it was going to start drying out, I just kept painting it. So it's just a clear solution. That's it there, I've shown you before. Just kept going over it. And then once I was satisfied that I could see some change, then I took it outside and I gave it a really good hose down, washed it all off. So all that is left behind is a phosphoric coating. All the solution was washed off, and then I've just come in and I've spent probably 10 minutes just with the air hose, just blowing it dry. I've heard that people wipe them down with cloth, just keep changing their cloth and dry it that way. Some people don't hose it down, they'll get water and wipe it down and then dry it, or they will get metho and water solution. Metho helps disperse the water. I know that from other uses. So all uses. I don't have an issue personally with hosing it down, drying it off. I will go through. I notice there's a little bit of water on the side in some areas. Basically, I get it as dry as I can, and then shouldn't get any rust bloom back onto it. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And just a reminder, I'm no professional, I'm no expert on this. I've just used it a few times, and I think this works. Well, I know it works. I'm happy with it. There's many different ways of doing the same job. If you want to do it a different way, that's fine. But if you learn something from this, then that's also fine. Always happy to hear what your opinion is. Always happy to read a comment, get further advice. Like it, don't like it, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, back into it. I've just been filming for about 3 minutes, then realised I didn't turn the video camera on. Anyway, another day. This is about 4 or 5 days after the last time I filmed, and at that time I had cleaned this up. Still got to do some cleaning, and I had put some phosphoric acid on it and etched it up, and it's etched up really well. So I dried it off really well after the phosphoric acid had done its job, and yeah, this is the effect. So it's neutralised the rust, and it's got this sort of rainbow sort of effect to it. Now what I've been doing is a bit more hammer and dolly work, just trying to make the best out of this I possibly can. So I've been beating the dents as much as I can, and I'm trying to use the metal's memory. So where it was originally, before it was punched in the nose, so to speak, during accident damage and so on, I'm trying to pop it back out into place to try and get it to return to where it used to be. The signs here of a previous repair, which unfortunately the two pieces of steel have been welded overlap, so that'll be pulling that area tighter, but I digress. So what I've been doing is pulling the metal back to where it was originally as best I can, so where it's ripped apart and things like that, such as areas like this, these areas here where the metal's actually ripped. So I'm trying to pull it back together as best I can to get it as close to where it's supposed to be, and then I'm just welding it back together. So down here I've got it about as good as I think I can, down here, so I'm just going to tack it, weld it back together, and that's putting strength back into it. What I don't want to do is weld it in the wrong place, so weld it with a big wide gap, or where it's actually overlapping, because I won't be able to get it back to where it needs to be after I've welded it. So this part here, for example, this piece here is overlapping this piece here, which tells me it probably needs to be pulled up a bit, and when I pull it up it actually comes together quite nicely, closes the gap up. There's still a bit of a V in the back of it. Okay, some of it's not going to be magically fixed, the metal could be stretched, but I'll hold that in place and then I'll tack it back together, and then it'll help to resume its old shape. So that's what I'm doing. And then there was just some spots here where the front panel had ripped off the brace at the back, so there was holes in here, so just filling those. Here's another example of a little rip. I'll try to get this back together as best I can, and then I'll just put a spot of weld on there. So yeah, all those little spots, and hopefully it should be strong. Whether it's necessarily nice and straight and perfect, well, I know it's not going to be. You can see dents through this section here, for example, but it was bent right under and twisted and bent over the frame and so on when I started, so it's come up a lot better. Will it be perfect? Never. Will it be good? Maybe. Will it be a lot better than it was? Absolutely. Remember, that's what it's going on, which is a pretty straight car. So areas like this, still got to grind off some of this paint, clean it up, but there's some areas here where that hole's a little bit big to just weld up, so I'll cut a small piece out of there, patch it. There's a couple of dents still here as well, bit of rippage here, bit of rippage there, so I'll pull that back, stretch it to where it needs to be as best as possible. Same as this area here. Just try and correct those, and where it's ripped, when you're trying to put these things back together, if you actually try to bring the steel, a bit hard to do it one-handed, actually try and bring the steel back together, then it actually starts bringing the shape back into it where it was supposed to be. Welded in the wrong spot, it'll fight you and won't allow you to bring it back into the shape that it was meant to be. So this corner here, it's reasonably deep through there. This corner here is reasonably shallow through there. So I've got to do some bending, twisting. I think I've actually got to lift the panel up through here a bit to bring that together, but then I've got to bend this part down. So the whole angle on the end there is probably a bit different because it's had impact through there. I'll do a bit more and I'll bring you back. Okay, several hours later, this is where you put that caption in. Given it a good clean up, did the welding and so on. Need to do a bit more, but I have given the whole thing a wire brush down. It's literally taken me a couple of hours, but I need to now give it a really good clean, and I'll use some wax and grease remover and some glass cleaner, and then I'm going to give it a coat of phosphoric acid on the back. As far as the front goes, I ground the welds down and so on. This will have body fill in it, have fiberglass filler, body filler, so on. Still need to do something with this. I've left the sort of bigger parts to yet to be done stage, but I'll do that after I've done phosphoric acid anyway, and then I'll re-coat. I've still got to do this part here, got to do this part here, crack here, where I ground back an old, what appeared to be oxy weld repair. A little rust spot there which I'll cut out, and then the bottom of this section here, and it's got some rust, so I'll cut out. I'll fabricate a new piece and put that in there. And on the back, there's a little bit of rust here, a crack there, so I'll weld those up, repair the rust. This is the back of that other repair that needs to be done. So yeah, it's all looking pretty good. And I noticed that little crack there, so I'll just give those a quick weld and grind. This is the back of that area that I pointed at on the bottom of that light area. So I'm happy with it. It's coming up well. This part here, there used to be a section that came through here. Probably gave it some strength, but I'm just going to remove this. I might just maybe weld a patch in there just to clean it up. It'll be okay. Okay. So, back at the International Grille. Been sort of bouncing around doing all sorts of things lately, last day or so, helping my son with the radiator support repair and battery tray repair out of his GMC. So we've been playing around with that. Replaced half of the battery tray here. It was all rusted out, came up alright, and he's been just putting in this lower section through here of the radiator support where the guard mounts to. It's got to be ground off yet. It's coming up okay. But the International Grille, so I've done any welding that I intend to do to it, done any rust repairs, so I've replaced this section through here. As you've seen the cracks and things, replaced this little section just here, and then there was a bit where the light goes, so this part here was rusted out. So yeah, it's coming up a lot better than it was. Body filler will fix the blemishes as good as it can be. What I'm going to do at the moment though is I'm actually going to put epoxy primer on the back of this, but I'm not going to spray it. I'm actually going to thin it down, same proportions. I think it's 1 to 4 parts of thinners. Sorry, 4 to 1. I'm going to brush it on. I'm going to do that because, quite frankly, I don't really feel like spraying today. Got to cover everything up so I don't get overspray everywhere. So I'm going to do it on the back of the grill here. I've done it once before on something, I can't remember what, and it didn't come up too badly. I need to remove that. It didn't come up too badly, but this is the back of the grill. I just want to seal it, and we'll eventually just paint it satin black or flat black or something. So I figured, for the sake of the exercise, I'll paint it with a brush, and I'll show you how it comes up. Okay, well that didn't go too bad. Took a little while. The reason I chose to do it with a brush was actually to show you that you can do it with a brush. But also, it takes just as long to clean up the equipment, the spray gun, wash everything, pull it all apart and everything, as it does to do the job most of the time. So only painting one item here, I just decided I'd do it with the brush. And as I said, it's the back of the item, so it's not like it's going to be really visible. It will be painted black. So it's just to neaten up inside the engine bay. So the parts that you can see that aren't painted, that I consider that the front, where I've had it go over, a couple of drips there. That doesn't matter, I can sand all that off. So it doesn't matter if it's a bit messy, dripping through the front or anything like that, because I can go through and just sand it off. This stuff is EPO 55 epoxy primer, and just trying to think who, EPOG 55 epoxy primer by Protec, and this is what I've been using for a little while now. I don't always use green, sometimes I use white, grey. Quite frankly, it depends on what I'm painting over the top of it, as in colour or what they've got in stock. So you can see lots of little runs, things like that here and there. Don't care, doesn't matter. The advantage of using a brush over a spray gun too, not only the cleanup, when you're spraying, it's a misconception that you can get the paint into every area. Sometimes you just can't get the paint into some areas. With a brush, particularly on an area like this, if I want to get into under a seam or something like that, there are a couple of spots I can see where I still have missed. I was actually using a pretty big brush because I didn't have a small one. And I'll fix that up later. I can give it another coat. I can see a little bit up the back there. Some dust, some dirt fell down, but there's another area there. I just realised that bracket's broken. So I can really soak it with the paint, get it in there so that it gets into the areas it wouldn't necessarily be able to spray. Now the thing with epoxy primer, if you don't want your metal to rust up, then you can do a variety of things. And as I said, I put phosphoric acid on it. I could have left that for a while and it would have been fine, but I didn't need to do any more welding or anything to this. So this stuff it's a primer, it's a sealer, and it's a high build, so you can actually sand it back, and it covers some of the minor imperfections like scratch marks and so on, minor imperfections from the grit of your paper, so your 80 grit paper for example. But also what's good is if you, let's say you get something sand blasted, or you clean it right up to bare metal, you get it into epoxy primer, then you can go through and you can actually grind parts off, you can do your repairs and so on. Well, in the video that you've just watched, I restored the 1952 grill of the International. As it turns out, since then I've bought another grill. I'm happy with the way that one came up, the one that you just watched, but the one that I've bought's better. So because it was a good price and it was available, I figured, well, why not? I'll put that on the truck. It'll have a good front on it. And the one that I've just restored, I think I'm going to turn it into wall art. So I'll body fill it, I'll paint it, I'll do the whole kit and caboodle. I might even custom paint it, get the headlights working, maybe hang it on the wall, make the lights flash. Something interesting, I guess. It's not going to be wasted. Never know, just as I'm talking about this, it may even end up as a Toxic Garage custom sign. Stay tuned for a future episode. We'll see. Thanks for watching. As always, please like, share, comment, subscribe. That'd be great. Thanks. More to come. Bye.